if it's meant to be, it'll be, it'll be. Baby, just let it be.
Hey guys, this is my first safety video on Animal Jam trading, things like that. Anything in the trading area, which would include over trading, under trading, scamming, hacking, trust trading, betting, as well as gifting areas. The first I'm going to cover is the trading system, and I'm going to cover and define a lot of these in case some of you don't know, or some of you need to be caught up on it, or whatever the reason may be. So, trading, basically most people know that you click an item, you put some items on, or in the plus buttons, and then you just hit trade, and they can either accept, decline. You can accept, decline if they accept your trade, and you can also cancel it if you cannot trade at that moment, or whatever the reason may be for you at that time. Trust trading is a new form of scamming. A lot of people are still victims of it today, even though it's commonly noticed. A good way to avoid this, and I'm going to go ahead and get this on now because a lot of people need to know about this. A good way to avoid this is look at the person's character whenever you're in Jaman. You see it automatically, and you're thinking it's a giveaway. No, don't go into it thinking it's a cool giveaway. Look at their character. Click on their name tag. Look at their trade list. Look at their pets. Look at their animals. Look at their achievements. Look at everything. Examine their profile. If it looks like it's a newbie, then it's most likely that they got their item that they're supposedly giving away to or from their backup, and they're gonna get items, or they're gonna buy a couple necklaces, put them on trade, and take the spike off trade, get you guys to trade for their necklaces, and then lock you out, because that's usually how trust trading works. They have advanced it to a little where they give back the first couple of times, or they'll have their backup with them, or their main, which is supposed to be somebody else, and they will have that person go first. And to find a real actual giveaway, it should say no trust, and there should be people advertising them as well. They probably most likely should be a member, and they should be professional, as well as have a nice den, lots of pets, lots of animals, and achievements. Even if they cover or meet all of the good giveaway or real giveaway requirements, they still may be a person who's trust trading. They just may not have a backup, or they may be vice versa with the backup. They may have a non-member who comes up, and it may make you think it's more believable because it's a non-member who looks like a noob. They're new to the game, so they're gonna do it, and they're gonna find out that it's easy and it's simple, and trust trading isn't harmful at the time, and then they're gonna take your turn, and it's gonna be not good. So you just have to watch out for it. It's mainly, you can see in the profile, the chat or the way they chat, the way they type, and other things like that. They kind of seem rushy on things. A good way to spot them, or another good way to spot them is if you're in your den, ask them to move at the same time. They have to switch in between browsers, so that means there's a couple second time span that you'll be able to see, and if they don't move at the same time, then that means it's the same person. If they do move at the same time, then they're either really fast, or they are the same person. Or they're not the same person. Even if they're not the same person, it could be a friend helping them do this, so it makes it look even more believable. Still then, I would get out of there and trade like a normal person should trade. The next thing I'm going to cover, which is still kind of around, is betting. Betting is basically where you play some sort of mini game, and I'll show you right now what kind of mini games they usually play. Right here, usually the top second row is what they'll usually choose from. A lot of them choose 4Gem, Tic-Tac-Toe, Shell Game, easy games that'll make your computer lag, so you will have a better chance of losing because they'll usually have a faster computer, or they'll choose a game they're really good at, such as Pairs, because Pairs is a faulty kind of game. You can't really do Pairs, and they won't say, oh, Pairs isn't legal in betting, or whatnot. So, betting is betting has been around for a little bit. It was around before flash trading, and it wasn't that big as flash trading, and then it just kind of came in and is an alternative for scammers trying to get items. So, betting is just where you play a game. If you win, you're supposed to get the person's items. If you lose, you're supposed to give the items you betted. And that's vice versa for both. Most people end up backing out of it, so all it does is hurt your reputation in the betting area, which I honestly think that no one should have any sort of reputation in the betting area, and that there really shouldn't even be a betting area, because there's no need to have one of those, because we shouldn't be betting in the first place. If we really wanted to do that, then we should just have an auction house for gems to get items. So that's what betting is. An easy way to avoid betting is just not to do it at all, and to avoid those kinds of jammers who you know who do it. If you have friends who do it on the low side or whatever, just don't hang out with them. The next thing I want to cover is flash trading. Flash trading is basically dead now. You can't do it anymore. People will do it for fun now. Friends and stuff, they'll do it for fun, and they'll be all like, oh, here, let me trade you fast, and you can't scam anybody with it anymore. But back then, whenever I was playing Animal Jam, I knew what flash trading was. People tried to flash trade me a lot. I never accepted because I was like, oh, I'm not falling for flash trading. And eventually did ban it from the chat, but they actually banned it from being said before they ever did really do anything about it. So it was hard for people to say, oh, they were being flash traded, or oh, someone's flash trading me, or oh, this person flash traded me and I lost items. So it was hard for people to even talk about it, but they still did it up until they actually fixed it. Anyway, flash trading is where you trade an item before the icon loads in the trading screen, and they'll say they'll be trading you this, and they want you to click it really fast. Well, they may not know what that is. People may not understand that, and they're like, oh, okay, I'll do that. So then they do it, and they'll get a necklace instead of what they were supposed to be getting was some den betas, or was maybe even a spike for another spike. So that's how they can scam people out of their items. The next thing I'm going to cover now is how to avoid that. To avoid it back then, all you had to do was really just wait for it to load. Just don't listen to what they say. Wait for it to load, and that's my advice for past. And obviously, you may think, well, why are you even talking about flash trading? No one can do it anymore. Well, there's always a chance that someone could hack into the game and cause it to never load, and you'll never know what item you have unless you go over to it and you look at the item, and it'll tell you what the item is, unless Animal Jam glitches out, and sometimes whenever you have your cursor over a certain item, it won't tell you what it is. At that point, I just X out of the trade, and also leave. Sometimes items don't load, sometimes they do. I've noticed that that's kind of a glitching problem here in Animal Jam right now, but it doesn't really matter because you have to accept twice before you get any item, and before they get any item. So that's why I covered this. It was for past jammers who lived through that area of flash trading. So the next tower I'm going to cover now is the gifting area. Gifting can be fun and nice, which it's usually included in giveaways after someone spins the wheel. Such an example would be me, and things like that. And I think gifting's cool and all, because I love to gift people, but unfortunately there is parts of the gifting area where it can be dangerous. Back then, there was a hacker named Deathman122. I was around during his time, and I was playing Animal Jam during his time, but thankfully he never sent me anything. And I was actually really rare during the time, so I was surprised he didn't send me anything. But I thought maybe there was conspiracies that it was a she, so forgive me if it's a he, or if it's a she, I'm not really sure. I'm just gonna say he because most people go by he until they know the gender, and I'm not gonna call it because that's just weird. But they were a big hacker, and they went through Animal Jam security, and they found their way in, and they started sending people gifts, which corrupted their game or their profile, and they got into it, hacked it. The person logged on a couple days later, and boom, their items were gone. Animal Jam did their best to recover items and did their best to make security way updated and on a high end, but it's still sometimes they couldn't recover most, or not. They could recover most of the damage, but sometimes they just weren't able to, or they just couldn't do it because there were so many who were affected by it. So the best way to avoid during that time was to just not accept any Jags from him, and probably most likely block him, as well as don't add him and don't see him, because he did go around Jamal a couple times and people feared him. He would send people Jags. He'd just show up randomly and he'd send people Jags and stuff like that, and it was just bad. So the next section in the gifting area would be when people say, oh, it's my birthday, this and that. Well, I personally think if you have internet to get on Animal Jam, if you have a computer to get on Animal Jam, or the access to get on one, then you're probably young, so you probably go to school, you get fed, then I don't think you should be asking for pixelated items on a game for free, because it's most likely that if you have all that, then you probably have an Animal Jam membership on a main account, and this is your backup, and you're trying to get items for free because you don't want to trade, or you just feel like getting items for free. If it really is your birthday, then if people are kind enough, they will send you something, but if you want to avoid that kind of stuff, then I wouldn't even bother reading the text. I just ignore them and not send anything to them, because you don't know them, you don't really know if it's a birthday or not, so I'd leave it alone, and that's what I usually do. I don't interact with the drama in Jamal. So another part of the gifting area is sometimes you have friends and stuff, and they send you stuff, and sometimes friends get a little greedy, and then they'll just unadd you, block you if you send them something good, and they never talk to you again, because they fear that you'll want it back. Now, that's kind of weird, and that may not happen very often, but it does happen within the dramatic 10 to 13-year-old kid groups, because they all bunch up together, and they're like, oh, I'm this age, and they tell each other their names, and they all learn about each other, and it's like some big friend group from school, but really they all live across the world, so they all group up together, and then all this dramatic stuff happens, and then it all ends painfully, and then the whole group breaks apart within a month or two. And that's pretty much what happens between those groups. So that's another thing to watch out for. Honestly, I just will not get involved in any of that drama. Only be friends with people you know, or only be friends with people you can trust, such as YouTubers for Animal Jam, and things like that. I'd only be friends with those kinds of people, because those kinds of people have to represent the real truth about themselves, or eventually, if they get big, or if they get big in the intention of thinking that they weren't going to get big, then they have to kind of tell the truth in the end. It's an example of that would be Squirm having to confess that he sold items, and that he was sorry, and other confessions have happened too between some of those popular YouTuber jammers, I guess I should say, or jambassadors, if you want to call them that. So that's the gifting area. To avoid a lot of that, I just ignore. Only send gifts to people who you really want to send gifts to. It's easy to block people out. Just go to your settings, click nobody on who can send you Jags. Another thing is, if you get sent inappropriate Jags, just report it and just go about your day. Don't bother sending any mean Jags back or anything like that. So now we all know what scamming is. Scamming is taking someone's items without giving anything back, or bargaining but never giving really what you bargained for, or never really giving what you were planning on giving them. You just said you were going to, but then they give you their stuff and you don't complete it. I already covered trust trading. No, I didn't, but I'm gonna go ahead and cover. A lot of you know what trust trading is. I'm still gonna define it, even though I defined a lot of the ways on how to avoid it and things like that. But to trust trading, it's a bad thing, common, like I said before. And it's basically just you go into their den. They're like, oh, put all these necklaces on trade. You guys trade me, get in line, trade me items for these necklaces, and I promise I'll give back. Usually, they lock you out of their den after a while, and then, yeah, that's about it. And like I said, they have a backup. That's what trust trading is. To avoid it, don't even get into any drama with them. Don't be like, oh, you're so mean once I've done it. And just don't get into any of that kind of drama with them. Just report them, block them, and leave. If you see it in like in Jamal, and it's just giveaway minded. And if you really don't want to be involved in that, or you think it's trust, just don't go to it. A lot of victims fall for it either because they're seeking attention because they want to pull, oh, I got scammed, or oh, I got hacked. And if you do actually get scammed or hacked through one of these and you didn't know, you can recover your items. Yes, you can. You can go straight to AJHQ and you can ask them or submit a form. Just look for it up in the guidelines area or in the help section. You can look it up and you can send them an email and your parents will call them and it'll be fine. You can recover your items if you actually get scammed or hacked, or you accidentally lose them due to a glitch. You can get them back. So people who are in Jamal streets saying, oh, I lost my items, I need items, then they're probably lying and they probably just want items for free. That goes along with scamming and hacking. And I've already covered hacking. Best way to avoid hacking is just, there's really no good way to avoid it. It's just, you gotta pray for the best. So now I'm gonna cover passwords. And that'll be the last thing I cover. You have to have a strong, creative, unique password. Me being me, at my age, I don't share my password with anybody, not even my parents. So, where I don't do any of that, my password is the safest. I choose one that has both words and numbers, and you should too, and I always change mine 3 to 6 months. That's the best time, or best months, or best times to change it, is every 3 to 6 months. Reason being is because if you always keep it fresh, it'll be harder for anybody to crack it. Don't make it anything like everybody knows about you, or don't make it things like your best friends know about you, because your best friends will get greedy and they'll take it. And that's just kind of how it works. You'll have to forgive me for my voice. It's kind of right now. But you should have a strong, creative, unique password. That's something that maybe you only know, something sentimental maybe, that not a lot of people know. If you really have to share it with like a close parent, but if you want to go that extra mile and be like, oh, I'm not going to share with anybody, and you can remember it, that's a good thing too. Another life goal is don't make your passwords the same for everything just because you need to remember it. If you really need to remember it, write it on a sticky note and hide it somewhere. Don't write it on a sticky note and leave it on like the computer, or leave it on the table, or leave it somewhere where your parents may find it and they move it, and then a friend comes over and takes it and they're like, oh, look at this. So that's a good thing for passwords too. Don't give out your password to anybody, nor information on Animal Jam. It clearly says that. Don't give out any information, because that can help them figure out all kinds of things about you, including your password, and hack into your account. Because most people on Animal Jam are not even looking for like where you live. No, that's not what they want. They want your items. And that's just kind of how it rolls there. So, I hope you guys enjoyed these safety tips. I hope I helped you guys learn a bit more about them, as well as defining them. I hope this helped you maybe be a little more an understanding of what actually happened, how the game can be made no longer fun for people, or feelings can get hurt, or items get taken. I hope this also helped you maybe learn how to get your items recovered if you've been scammed or hacked recently. Also, I hope this helped you make better choices for keeping your account safe on Animal Jam and having a better time while you're playing. If there's anything I missed, please tell me. If there's anything I didn't cover the best or very well, you can also leave that in the comments. And if you have an opinion or suggestion for maybe a video you want me to do later on, you can also leave that in the comments. Thank you all for watching, and I have one more video to upload after this, and it'll be an update. Other than that, it's pretty much done, but I hope you all enjoyed. This video will be uploaded tomorrow morning, so if I talked anywhere in this video as if it was like nighttime or etc., or if I was talking it like it was Tuesday instead of Wednesday, then that's the reason why. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I can't wait to make the next one.